Filmmakers, if you are in Los Angeles, March 31st, please come on out to the first ever Filmmakers Forum. It's put on by filmmakers Ryan Koch and my dear friend Tony Franklin. Terrific filmmakers in their own right. And it's a place to collaborate, to mingle with filmmakers, writers, creatives. Very casual night. Yours truly is the guest speaker. So I'm going to yammer on for about 20, 30 minutes, and then, of course, take questions, and then continue to mingle and enjoy modestly priced hors d'oeuvres. I hope to see you at this event. RSVP at some links. You'll find them on LinkedIn and Instagram and here at the podcast. March 31st. See you there.
It's time for Respect the Process, a short chat about commercial filmmaking. Here's your host, Director Jordan Brady.
Oh, Helen, welcome to the show, everybody. March 18th, 2005. It is Jake Brady's birthday. Well, it was all day. Jake Brady turns 31. I got to hang with him today. We celebrated with midday egg sandwiches, which goes back to his childhood. I've always made the boys famous egg sandwiches. Fried egg, little mustard, some other stuff, a lot of cheese. Anyway, got to see Jake. He did a little editing. He's not listening, but I love you, Jake. I don't think Jake listens. I know he listens to every interview, and I thought, wow, he's heard more conversations with wonderful professionals than anybody. I mean, some of you may have listened since day one, but I mean, he's there thick and thin. Our guest today is Mack Garrison, and Mack runs Dash Studio. He is the co-founder there, and they have motion graphic artists, motion designers, I guess you'd say, art directors, creative directors, and they make really cool stuff. And what I loved about this conversation was he and I were aligned, Mack Garrison, Ellen. We were aligned in having your creativity first, but also having a strategy for your career, for your business. And you can pivot. You can try things, and if they don't work, you try something else. But if you don't have a plan, you're just going to wait for dumb luck to happen? I don't think so. Boot camp is April 5th. 4 spots left. Now, it's always sold out, but we're 3 weeks away, and there's 4 spots. Do I think it's going to sell out? Yes, but you better sign up quick. It comes with the onboarding call with yours truly. I'm going to throw in a free class if you haven't taken an online class. If you have taken an online class, use the code JEDI to save $100. Here's what makes me so happy. I'm going to play Kat Raphael's testimonial, what I call the alumni praise, in the middle of the show. We'll give Jake his birthday off, because Kat really spelled out. In fact, all the filmmakers did. So I just want to do a rundown of, I had asked through my mailing list for people to give me a testimonial because it substantiates the film school, commercial directing film school. So shout outs go to Kirk Palmer, Kat Raphael, Johnny Michael, who was shooting with 2 alum from the film school, Jared Leaf and my man Dave Norman, doing a Nike commercial. Johnny flew from Miami to Portland, Oregon, and the 3 of them made a great spot. Jerry Nikolev down in Florida also, David Bradburn, Chris Francis, who's crushing it at the Raindrop Agency, Esther Liu, who was at the December boot camp, Kim DeVenzo, Luke Cheney, Mike Slane, who's part of the Mike and I team at Practice, and my man down in South America, Kaio Shindo. So thank you all for doing your testimonials. I've been putting them all over my social media, and I'm going to do a raffle. One of them will win the $500 Amazon gift card. Now you're wondering, Jordan, how do you keep it all together? The film school, you're writing treatments, you're making this podcast. Well, I got to tell you, the Magic Mind certainly helps. And I always mention the lion's mane and the ceremonial grade matcha and the ashwagandha. So I thought, why don't I tell you some of the other ingredients, if I can say them right? Bacopa and cognizin for mental performance. Rhodiola, cordyceps, go with the matcha for the calm energy. L-theanine, ashwagandha I mentioned, and turmeric for less stress. And in addition to the vitamins B2, B3, B12, it's got vitamin C and vitamin D for vitality. What I love most about Magic Mind is the steady focus, because I'm all over my computer. I go down a rabbit hole. I'm going to today, I up-resed old spots from like 2009. Actually, one of them for this science fair bit was from 2003. And I finally found it buried in an old hard drive in the garage, in a box, in the back, going through different freaking cables just to make it work, adapters to get to USB-C. Have you been there with me, people? And I used Topaz, which you can pay as you go, and I up-resed about 3 spots. But this science fair spot was by far the oldest. I mean, over 21, 22 years old. Still funny. And I think it's because it was shot on film. I just had like an 8-bit or a 10-bit DV thing. So I had to make an MP4, then put it into Topaz. And just so my point is, how do I stay on task? I believe the Magic Mind helps me kind of dutifully go, okay, go in the garage. It's in the back. It's on one of these 7 drives. Get the right cable. Get that flat, weird cable that goes to USB, but it's not USB. What is it? Go into my computer, blah, blah, blah. So the Magic Mind, if I were just drinking coffee, I would probably abandon the project. And Friday morning, I was invited to see James Bashara, the inventor of Magic Mind. And he hosts a podcast called The Daily Vedantic. Am I saying that right, Helen? Vedantic? And it's ancient philosophy that predates the Buddha. It was so fascinating. The guy is super smart. I got to meet him afterwards. We chatted. And I think I'm going to go again. It's not a cult, but it could be, just like Commercial Directing Film School and our annual retreat. But I'll save that for another day. I realize I'm rambling, but I'm having so much fun sharing with everybody. There's been a lot going on. I got 2 more things. We're going to pick a winner of all of the alum that made me those wonderful, heartfelt testimonials, and they will get the prizes. And I would like to announce filmmaker, photographer Amy Schramm will be the recipient of the Filmmaker Diversity Award. She will be coming to boot camp April 5th in LA 2025 here. It's going to be a great boot camp. And my friend Mark Leese at AFX Creative, who does all the special effects for the Toyota spots I've done, both with Saatchi and Lane Terralever, Mark has sponsored the Filmmaker Diversity Award along with True Gent, and that's going to get Amy to the boot camp. So congratulations, Amy. Thank you, AFX Creative Team. And, you know, the government may be killing all these DEI programs, but your old buddy Jordan is dedicated to helping, even if it's just one filmmaker at a time. If you're not from an underrepresented population and you need help, by golly, you just write me, Jordan, at Commercial Directing Film School, and I would love to help you out as well. Did we cover everything, Helen? We talked about Magic Mind. We talked about James's podcast, Jake's birthday. Here's one last thing. So CMS Productions, for those of you in LA know that you can run a job through CMS. If let's say you didn't have a production company or you had a union shoot, they're full union, and you run your payroll through them and everything. They're super cool people. I wake up today and I see in the Howler they've announced the press release about Amy Schramm, and I'm super stoked. And I had a great weekend. I went to see a band called Saint Motel with Ben Brady and Sal and Angie. Baby Otto went, my daughter-in-law. little Shelby. We had just a blast. So I'm coming into the week strong. It's Tuesday. I see the press release about Amy. I'm super happy. I get all these things over the weekend from the filmmakers. It's going great. What about little old Respect the Process? Well, there, CMS puts on LinkedIn top film production podcasts of 2005. They've got Crossing the Axis with James Keblis, Producers Happy Hour with Sister Christian and Lawrence T. Lewis, who have both been on the show, and I've been on their wonderful show. Go Creative Show with Ben Consoli. Ben Consoli was on our show. On Production Rap Book with Cameron Woodward. These are must-listens. They cover everything. And what's the one I left out? Respect the Process. That's right. Because of you and the people at CMS that are listening, we made their top film production podcast of 2025. And it's crazy. It's only halfway through March. Thank you for indulging me. The longest intro, I'm going to put Kat Raphael's testimony in the middle of the show, and I do want you to listen to it because none of these were prompted at all. Meanwhile, enjoy my chat with Mack Garrison.
Dash Studio, we're a high-end animation and motion design agency that believes in the power of creativity and community. I know the best work happens together, and I want to work with as many great people as I can. And it really was the impetus for us starting our studio.
When did you start it, Mack?
Almost 10 years ago, 2015, October of 2015. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary.
Wow, this is a big one. You look like such a young man. You must have been just fresh out of school.
I started it in my late 20s, and honestly, I think it was appropriate to start it then because 10 years in, I know all the nuances and the weight that comes with running your own shop. Yeah. And I don't know, honestly, if I'd have the gusto to take a step out in my late 30s just because of so much I know. You almost need to be kind of
naive.
Naive, right? And that's it, 100%.
And to set the context before you go back to what you were telling us, you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, I believe?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
I love Raleigh.
NC. It's great. Delightful spot. Growing like crazy right now. But I always tell people this. Look, we're East Coast, so we've got like a little bit of edge still, but we're in the South. So we're like our California friends. We're a little bit more laid back. So it's a nice blend of the two worlds.
I used to stay in Raleigh quite a bit. There was a comedy club called Charlie Goodnights. I think it's called just Goodnights now.
Yeah, right.
And I fancied a woman that worked there. And she lives, I think she still lives in Cary, North Carolina, which at the time, it was like on the outskirts of Raleigh, but now it's a burgeoning metropolis.
Oh, Jordan.
It's merged, it's morphed into Raleigh, right?
It is. So I grew up, born and raised in Raleigh, which is a whole other story that I didn't get pulled away. But born and raised in Raleigh, I used to grow up making fun of Cary. I was like, that's where hopes and dreams go to die. I live here now, and in my late 30s, it's delightful. Cary is amazing. It is one of the most diverse areas you can find in our state. We've got plenty of food. It's very culturally rich, and it's very pedestrian friendly from bikes and active people. It's delightful. So if you're looking for a hidden gem, check out Cary, North Carolina. That's my pitch for it.
That's great. So back to what you were saying. You know how to start a company, 10-year anniversary, know how to treat people. The company ethos is treat people well, they'll do better work.
Yeah, we believe in the power of creativity and community. And, that sounds from a business side like, I don't know, is that fluffy, right? Is there really business value in believing in community? And it's interesting. Last year, I gave a presentation at OffFest in Barcelona. It is one of the biggest kind of creative conferences in Europe. It's amazing. Barcelona is a fabulous town. If you've never been, I encourage everyone to go. And
there's a link. I'm going to put a link to that speech that you gave. It's like a TED Talk.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah. And one of the things that I was really curious about is like, I genuinely believe that our success as an agency came from so many people who believed in us and wanted to see us succeed, that just volunteered information, support, guidance, tips and tricks. And we got that by going to conferences, reaching out to people. And so when we started the studio in those early days, that's really how we got a lot of the knowledge. And so I started to look back and I said, okay, we believe in this power of creativity and community. We've always been supporters of our friends and even our competition, folks who might be competitors in our space.
Frenemies, we call them.
Frenemies, right. So what is the value that's actually given to our business from a business side? And I looked at every project we've ever taken on as an agency. 84% of the work came from someone we knew or someone who referred us. 84%.
Relationships. Yeah, relationships.
Relationships, right? That's what it is. That's the game. If you look at our top 10 clients, biggest spenders we've ever worked with, our number one client was an individual who came to a conference we throw. We throw this animation and motion design festival called the Dash Bash, happens biennially. They came to this event, had such a great time. They were working with the client and couldn't handle the workload the client had. They said, well, who should we reach out to? Go talk to Dash. They're amazing people. That's how we landed our number one client. Our number two client was a result of a direct competitor of ours, someone who we've lost work to in the past. They said, you know what, this isn't quite our style, our fit. You should reach out to Mack and the Dash Studio team. And then our third biggest client we've ever worked with, these are folks who, when I came in entry level into the space, making those peer-to-peer connections, have now grown on to work at big companies, have senior title leadership, and are now the decision makers. So it goes back to what you just said, Jordan. It's a relationship game. You know, and if you invest in the people around you, they want to invest in you.
I'm just marinating in that because I've said it forever. It comes down to, you know, the real and the relationship. And if you stress those two things, the revenue, the third R, will follow, right? I'm doing a job at the end of next month for very little revenue, but it's a great relationship that I've had for almost 20 years, and it'll probably go on the reel. But the relationship, serving the relationship, is actually, in this case, more important than my reel. And normally I'm creatively stingy and want to do everything for the reel. And I go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to make something. I'll do a little something extra that will make this spot. It'll be a live action commercial comedy. That's what I do. I'll make it for the reel. But on paper right now, I'm like, yeah, could maybe, you know, it's not the biggest name brand and whatever, but I love the people involved, and I would go to the mat for them anytime.
100%. There's a quote that I love. It's from a friend of mine, Michaela Vandermost. She runs Newfangled Studios up in Boston. She always says there's one for the real, one for the meal, right?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's a good one.
Sometimes it's like, look, there's no money in this. It's just good people and good work, and we're going to say yes to it because we believe in the creative. And other times you're one for the meal and one for the real.
What if I held up my coffee mug right now and it was on there? That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
I would love it. I would eat it up so much. That'd be great. But there's so much truth to that because the reality is the business side of design is tricky. You know, I think we all get into this space and we have this grandeur of everything we work on is going to be the best thing ever. It's always going to be exclusively cool work. And the reality is it's not always like that. And that's okay. You know, the business side of design requires that we support either ourselves as a contractor or our team as a studio or agency. And so you have to say yes to some things that might not be as creatively stimulating, but allows you to invest in the creative later on. But it's that latter part that's so important. You just can't get caught up in like the monetary side and sacrifice creative, at least if that's what you got into it for. Because for me, it's like, I love making good work. I love the team that we work with. And if you get too caught up in pulling the lever of just one of these, it ends up causing problems. Too much creative work with not enough money, you know, that's a problem. But too much money with not enough stimulating work, you're not going to last either.
Yeah, someone said you can have a good year, but what does it do for your career? That's not it. It was a little more pithy than that. About you could make a lot of money that year, but what did you give for the reel? Let's back up.
Sure.
Tell us about young Mack. Did you go to school in Carolina? Have you ever, other than Argentina, have you ever been out of?
I'm a huge avid traveler. And I think that stems from the fact that I'm born and raised in North Carolina, have stuck around. And at a younger age, I honestly, truthfully, found that frustrating. You know, I had the desire to do the New York, the Chicago or LA, the big city creative. I mean, that was my trajectory. But getting out of school kind of close to the recession of like '08, it was like, oh, okay, no one's finding work. And I got lucky enough to land an agency job here in the area. And so while I had grandeur of going elsewhere, it was like I had student debt from going to North Carolina State's College of Design, great school, design fundamentals, what I learned there. And so, yeah, I took this agency job, came in as a junior animator and had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Now this is an ad agency, or this is a design house or a production company?
Great question. Ad agency / production company, they were kind of intertwined in that space a bit. And what was really nice is, just thinking of how progressive this agency was, this is around like 2010-ish, 2011. They had like 15 animators there, which was crazy. I mean, no one had that many, but they were really building off the acceleration of the explainer video. So building these great teams. And what was amazing about my time there is that I learned about the business side of design as it pertains to Fortune 500 clients, kind of what you need to do to get that through the pipeline, but also just how many skilled and talented people there are. I mean, I really cut my teeth in just learning from the people around me, getting their project files, understanding the nuance of how to do some of these things. Those are all the good things.
What do you mean getting their project files?
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean?
Sure. So as an animator and as a creative, a lot of times you get changes come in from projects, or you inherit a project that needs some adjustments. And so I would actually get the physical project files sometimes that other creatives had worked on.
Like if I gave my Adobe Premiere Pro editing project file to someone else to pick up edits where I left off. So the animation file, and what is that program? Like, I don't know the terms. Yeah. Maya?
No worries.
Blender?
Primarily, it was After Effects.
After
3D,
Effects, yeah.
3D was Cinema 4D. But so you get this After Effects file, and as someone who's still learning how to make all this stuff, I could see the nuances and what some of these senior creatives and how they were building these scenes. And so you're kind of like a detective. You can pull stuff apart. You're like, oh, I see how they do that. And
like
that's
an
really
apprentice too. You're watching the masters that came before you. And
yes.
And did you learn After Effects at the design school in North Carolina, or because a lot of times the film schools are a generation of technology behind?
Sure.
Maybe not so much anymore, but like back in the day, they're telling you how to cut on a
like an Avid system or something.
Or no, like splicing film when no one's doing that anymore,
So I did learn After Effects at a very fundamental and elementary level when I was in school. It was well-rounded. It was all about line, form, shape, value, texture, color, those fundamentals expressed through the lens of digital medium like Adobe Illustrator, After Effects, Photoshop. So kind of got well-rounded in that. Loved all of it, felt myself was a true generalist. And it really wasn't until I got into this agency that focused narrow exclusively to animation, because that's what I was getting hired for. And at the time I was like, yeah, I'll take a job to pay off this debt. So I was totally cool being an animator. What I didn't expect was just how much I would love it. The term I love to use is motion design. It's an umbrella term that essentially describes anything that's moving on screen, which could be live action video, editing, animation, interactive media, but it's this lens of curating design principles through motion and what you're crafting. And as someone who honestly was ADHD, I was bouncing off the walls. I love the variety I could explore. I love the typography choices. I love the graphic elements. I love that I could animate a screen away and build a new one on if I got tired of it. I mean, it was just so dynamic, and mixed in with music and sound design, it was exactly what I was looking for. And so over the course of about 5 years at this agency, I worked my way up from a junior to more of a senior level, kind of saw the gamut of what we were creating from a commercial corporate space with design, and was really proud of what we were making. And those were all
you were like, I could do this.
Well, the piece that really was a light switch for me actually stemmed from a pretty low point for me, because while I love design, I was feeling burned out. And I think every creative
such a young age.
Yes. And
did they work you too hard? Did they not treat you right?
I think that's it. I think a lot of creatives get in this space and they're thrown to the wolves essentially on, feeling a bit underpaid and then being worked to death, right? The late nights, we can do this, and just felt this immense pressure to deliver for my team and the people that I really cared about was just causing a lot of stress. And in the midst of this, I actually had my grandmother pass away. And I think the hard thing about this, my grandmother and I were really close, was that I was juggling a project at this agency at the time and was requesting time to get off to go visit family and was feeling pressure to finish the project before I left. So I was flying home, flying to Louisville, Kentucky, which is where my grandmother was. Yep. Saw her one weekend, flew back while all my family stayed there to finish this project. And my grandmother passed away that week, where I went back up and had to go to the funeral. And it was this kind of epiphany that I had. I was like, this is insane. Like, at the end of the day, I should be enjoying the creative work. I shouldn't be having so much pressure that I can't do the family things that I want to do. The stuff that I really enjoyed was the collaboration and working with all these creatives. The things that I didn't were these kind of unhinged timelines that we were navigating. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way where you can make great creative work, but take care of the people that are there with you. It doesn't have to be these timelines like this. And that was the impetus that really started the conversation with my now business partner, Corey Livengood, who was also an animator at the same agency.
Shout out, Corey.
Shout out, Corey. So that led us to saying, let's give this a shot and see what we can do. And so that started. After you,
let me just interject a question here. Was that after you came back from the funeral, like shortly thereafter? You're going, because I'll add to the whole treat people right and do good work and treat your team right is, we say at True Gent, and you can learn more at truegent.tv. Family first.
Family first.
Family 100%. First. You have a family thing, we can find someone to cover. We can maybe push that a day. Now, we can't push a shoot a day for someone, but we can make accommodations. And if someone, I remember a cinematographer, this is 20 years ago. We were good friends because we were on a run working. I called him for a job and he goes, I got to tell you what, I want to do this. I'm just saying that my wife is going to give birth to our daughter 10 days after the job. But if she happens to go into labor early, which happened before, I'm going to leave. I don't care if it's the middle. You have to know that. And I said, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Calls me the night before at like 9 o'clock saying, because his wife was in Montreal. Jordan, it's happening. And I said, do you have a flight? He goes, I got the flight booked. I go, Mazel tov. God bless. I hope hope it's a great pregnancy. It's going to change your life. It's going to be great. And
that's the way to do it.
We ended up working together, like 6 months later, as he's the proud father of a healthy baby girl. And I called another friend and said, hey, can you step in tomorrow? And he stepped right in.
And that's the thing. It's the support network, because what you hit on there at the end is there's a good support network for people to step up to the plate and help support it. And I think that just made me start asking the question. So you asked, was it immediately right after? It wasn't. It was a little bit of time, but it was enough to plant the seed of like, is my best interest and the human interest at heart here? And it made me question about whether it was. And I was determined to build something where that was a focal point of who we are.
That's great. That's a great story. I saw and maybe it was a link that you had sent me, and thank you for being a guest. And to anybody out there that's going to be a guest and you listen to the show, when you send links, now Mack sent 3 or 4 links that are an hour each. I didn't watch them all.
You didn't watch them all, Jordan?
I didn't watch them all, but I watched a little Barcelona. I watched a little bit about how you can start your own studio. And I thought, okay, a lot of the people listening right now are filmmakers or agency creatives, producers, and filmmakers running all over, run the gamut of the crew, right? And some animators. But I think what your answer to this question is going to be applicable to anyone. And the question is, well, first I'll ask, why would you share how to start your own studio? Because you're creating your own competition. But the question B, or part 2, is tell us how you do it. How do you start your own studio?
The answer to your first question, I think, is simple. It's a better place when there's more people with more ideas at the table. Yes. And I think when you have fewer more institutional answers to creative problems, you're going to start dealing with less creative and, in my opinion, more financial. And it takes away from what at heart and why people start this stuff is they're really passionate and they care about what they're making. So I think we need more stories at the table. We need more opinions at the table.
That's a vote for diversity.
We need more, 100%, 100%. 100%. Because honestly, again, it goes back to the fact of like, we love creative, we want diversified ideas, and we're built in an era of small business. And we, I believe the small business is a key to the future. We need more people pushing innovation and trying different things and being open to taking those risks. So even though surely we might make more competition, I'm not too worried about that, because I think when one of us does well, it shows us that there's an opportunity for us all to do well.
Rising tides lift all ships.
100%.
That's on the mug. What if I lifted up the mug and that was on?
That was on it. That'd be good.
What listeners don't know, I have 20 mugs with different phrases I can lift up.
It's so good. I love it. I love it. So yes, I think rising tides raise all ship. That's the answer to one. And I think for two, like you asked, how do I do it? How do you do it?
Yeah. And do you encourage it?
Yeah. Well, I think you just have to be realistic about what it's going to take. Because here's the most realistic answer I can tell you. If you love what you do on the creative side or the technical side, and like you enjoy that, as soon as you start an agency or a studio, you're going to immediately start doing less and less of that. Yeah. And that's the reality, because you are saying, I want my own autonomy. And the charge of taking your own autonomy is that you have to deal with all these other pieces and have the autonomy for those as well too. And so I think that's a hard reality, is that while I have found creativity in entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is undefined, you're naturally just trying to solve ambiguity on a regular basis. And that's what design is. It's problem solving. So I have found joy in the entrepreneurship. I think the hardest thing for me is that I've left behind a lot of the day-to-day creative. I don't get lost in the flow state of animating anymore, or even editing. A lot of it is a lot of short little pieces that I'm dealing with. Now, granted, we're a little bit larger size. We have 12 full-time staff and a handful of contractors. So it is a little bit different than maybe if you're first getting going. But some key pieces and key takeaways that I think folks should know if they're going to start their own thing is, one, you want to have at least a small amount of clientele that can move you forward. So if you're in-house somewhere, or, if you are working at an agency, wherever it may be, you want to have at least some freelance work that you can start to lean on and grow on. So I think that's important. You don't want to just jump in with nothing, because the reality is our industry is more saturated than it's ever been before. And you want to have a little bit of a niche carved out for folks like you. I think the second bit of it is to have even foundational a plan. And what I mean by that is, when we started, this partner and I, we put up a little bit of money ourselves. So we were all self-funded. And it was like basically about 6 months of runway that we gave ourselves to start building traction. We were like, we're going to give ourselves 6 months to feel like there's traction that's starting to happen. And if so, we can kind of keep it going. And if not, then maybe we go our separate ways and maybe this isn't the thing. We wanted to give ourselves a little bit of plan. So I think you should have some freelance work available. You should have a little bit of a plan and a runway and kind of stick to that. And then I think the other piece is you really need to figure out who your market is and why you're different than everyone else out there. I mean, it's great to have more of us at the table. We need more stories, and everyone's story is different. But what is your different story? Because the reality is, again, going back to our industry is more saturated than it's ever been before. You need to be very clear and succinct on why someone should choose you over someone else.
Hey everybody, my name is Kat Raphael, and I am a commercial director that specializes in kids commercials and working with kids. And I am hopping on here to talk to you a little bit about Commercial Directing Bootcamp with Jordan Brady. So I don't know if you've heard of him before or if you're at all familiar with him. I've been working in the industry for 29 years now, but I'm relatively new to directing. I've only been directing for about 3 years. And there's a lot of stuff that you can second guess yourself or not maybe think you know as well when you're first starting out. And when that was the case, one of the things that I would do and use as a resource is Jordan Brady's podcast, Respect the Process. And I would go on there and I would listen to stories about treatments or how to pull things together, or really what the right way to do things was and how to get kind of free advice. And then it's a whole different level when you decide to go to the boot camp. right? So it doesn't just start in the boot camp when you're in the room with the other 9 filmmakers and Jordan is basically giving you all of his tips and tricks and things that's worked for the last however many years he's been doing this. Where it really starts is when you get that phone call from him 2 weeks or a week beforehand and he says, tell me about what you want. Tell me about what your goals are. Tell me about where you see your career going. And you have someone who you can really talk to and who can be a mentor and who can be an ally and who can cheer for you. And he does. He truly, truly, truly does. So you lay all that out for him. You show up. You get the chance to meet him in person. You get the chance to meet and work with all these other filmmakers. And you leave knowing that if you have questions or if you need to brainstorm or if you're having and hawing in something about something and you just don't know, you can shoot him an email. I have had the opportunity to talk to Jordan a couple of times since the boot camp itself, and he is so willing to give you his time and his energy because really, truly, it is with the most sincerity that he is cheering you on and he wants to see you succeed. And I believe that I am not a special case in that. Although I'm special, I am not a special case in that. That I know. Because he is so giving of himself. And it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to grow and to learn and to get to know yourself better as a director and to get to be inspired by other people. Because sometimes truly all it takes is for someone to say, hey, you know what? You're doing great and I believe in you. And that is something that Jordan Brady will do for you. Because he does.
That last one is a real timely thing for me because I'm constantly wondering if my production company is different enough or is it just based on the sum of the individual directors and their point of view. In other words, in live action production, we get a board from an agency and it's the director's point of view that's really going to win the job. There's got to be a little bit of the company magic that slams it over the top, especially as a boutique who goes up against bigger, these shops with 40 directors and they just had a bunch of Super Bowl spots and this director does this TV show. I think that tips the scale. So how can my little boutique be different? And I think it's white glove service, that that it's all hands on deck for your project. I think other people are doing that too, but if you combine that with my experience or the other director who's pitching from our company, their point of view, that's what's going to win.
100%. And I think the piece that I would add to that is you're right. Like, we could sit here and say the Dash, and we do, offers white glove service. It is boutique. You get that experience. But if you pull that layer back a little bit, what makes that white glove service at Dash so good? Well, it's because Mack grew up in the South. His mom was a teacher. His dad worked for the county. He really cares about giving back. He's grown up with that, which has made him have connections with people around him. So he cares immensely about his people and your people. We care immensely about your project because I care about my people. It translates to how we pitch ourselves when we're talking to clients and the vibe they're getting and just working with us.
How do you make that point on a pitch? That we care about our people, and if you go with us, I mean, it wouldn't be this blatant, but if you go with us, just know you're not just taking care of yourself, you're taking care of our people. Everyone's going to be jazzed about this. I don't know. Maybe they don't care. Some clients don't care.
Well, no, I think the right clients do care. The right clients for you care. And that's the important thing is I think you can't just go in and throw a large net to try to catch everyone because not everyone's for you. Not everyone's going to come to Dash and say like, oh, we love this community side of things that you're doing. They're going to be like, what's the data? What's the results? How fast can you do it? And not that that's wrong. It just might be a better fit for someone else. So the way that we do it is, I know this is an audio only podcast, but visually is big. Our pitch decks reinforce the team that we have, the contractors we work with, the group. And it's talking about like, yes, there's a million different shops out there that can deliver on time, that can do good work. So why Dash? Why Dash over anyone else? And for me, it comes down to our personality because it's as unique to us as your personality is to you, Jordan. And so when I talk about that we're gregarious and we love to talk about what we do and the problem solving design, that we're symbiotic and that we're optimistic because you have to be optimistic optimistic in this space because change is inevitable. We talk about our process and the craft and how everything we do leading up to the final deliverable has purpose and intention to get all of us on the same page and working together. So it's the through line of the community and the collaboration that makes its way through everything. And it's that pitch and being succinct about it that I think is so important.
Go in with a plan and a couple of clients that you know will go with you to your new shop, and really take a look in the mirror before you hang your shingle, you listener that's an artiste of any kind, a creative person, and go, do I just want to be a creative and not deal with the business side? Because that's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's better, even though you think I want my own shop, maybe it's better not to.
Could be. There's a great book for anyone that's looking to start their own company. And it's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, I believe. It was one of the first books I've read when I started the company.
The E-Myth.
And there's the E-Myth, and it's called The E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Fail. And it's a little narrative piece, and he's talking to a woman who I think is starting a bakery in the story. But they touch on all these different pieces and little antidotes on how she should think about something differently so that she doesn't follow a trap that so many others have followed. Because I think the statistic is like 85% of small businesses will fail in their first year, 85%. And so this is why it goes back to, even if the plan is small, having a bit of plan is good. But there's one key takeaway that I want, if there's anything to remember from this book, is that Michael Gerber talks about there's 3 kind of personality traits that make up every business owner out there. One is that they have to have some entrepreneurship in them. So they're the entrepreneur. They got to be able to go out and find the work. They have to be a good manager to manage the work and to do it. And they have to be a good technician. So they actually have to know not only just managing the projects and timelines, but the technical side of what they're doing. And the reality is that not all of us are good at all of those things. You know, some of us might start because we're really good technicians, but are we going to be good entrepreneurs and managers to get this done? And if the answer is no, it doesn't mean you can't start your own business, but it means finding a partner or someone that could fill the gap with those other pieces.
Yeah,
I think is really critical to
complement.
success. Complement, exactly.
That's great. Now, the website is, give us the website.
Oh yeah, www.studio.net. You can see
You
the
can just
litany.
say -studio.net. You don't need the, everyone knows the www, Mac.
Yeah, where else? Where
It's
else is everyone searching?
2025.
Are you
Dash
guys
stu-
familiar with the World Wide Web? Have you heard of it?
-studios.net.
Studio, singular, -studio.net.
-studio, singular, -studio.net. And what I love, I perused a bunch of stuff, and it's all great work. It's all wonderful quality. I love the mixed media. I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, the 2D animation is kind of nuts and bolts grunt work that pays the bills, and you're happy doing it, and it keeps everybody busy. And the 3D stuff is the sexy stuff. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
It's sexy.
100%. That's where you can really, really kind of throw some flash into the pan on what's possible. The collage work is really good too, what you alluded to. And it's interesting. Over the pandemic, just talking about trends and where things are heading, you know, you came up to this time, and I'm sure you remember all this, Jordan, just how crazy it was. Live action shoots were getting canceled left and right. So we couldn't get on set because there was too many people. So everyone was worried about spread. And so we saw a huge uptick in collage related stuff because they may have pre-existing photographs from an event,
stock
or pre-existing footage. Right. How do we unify that into a cohesive brand? And that's really where we saw collage work start to take off.
It's fun. And then there's stuff where, I don't know if I'd call it a collage, but it's the animation over. I'm a huge fan of the animation over the live action.
Oh,
and it's not an afterthought. It's all planned out.
Very much so. I think one of my favorite projects we've done, and one that's on the site that maybe you saw, is this project for B-Size. It was a Japanese GPS device tracking company that you can give to kids so they have a little bit more autonomy, but parents can keep an eye on where they are.
Oh, I love it. I didn't see this.
It's a phenomenal project, live action set, and we had to bring in the imagination of a kid. So how can you make something feel fantastical, but we want to capture authenticity? So that's where we really leaned into this idea of like, we're going to do a live action shoot and we're going to highlight these kids kind of playing while visualizing the parents having sanity. They know where their kids are. It was super fun. And when you can work where live action and animation are working in tandem, they're both pre-planned. One's not an afterthought for the other. Really makes some great looking stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful. There's a spot, 100% live action. The product was so crazy that I watched it again. I go, is that like CG and it's a prototype and they haven't made it yet? Do you know what I'm talking
on our
about?
site? Is this the Red Hat robot dog feeder? Is that what you're looking at?
Exactly.
Oh man, shout out to Red Hat. They're such a great client for us.
Is that a real product?
No, so Red Hat Workloads. Red Hat is an open source company that helps enterprise level organizations use open source software. And they have a platform that they offer called Red Hat Workloads. And the idea behind this conceptual idea was that, this company, this fake robot feeding dog feeder company, use Red Hat Workloads. And so now they're building up so much efficiencies. They're moving like a nimble startup. Possibilities are endless. And so what was great about this is it was a lot of VFX work. So all of that is animated.
The robot dog feeder is CG.
That's CG, 100%.
Oh, amazing. So for the listener, and I'll post a link at jordanbrady.com with the blog. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever, there'll be a link in the show notes on your phone. You can watch this. It's two women and a dog and a little robot that looks like a Star Wars. It's a round circle like a BB-88 kind of thing. And it facial recognition scans the dog's face. So it knows the dog and it knows the weight of the dog, and then it leans over and it spills out food into the thing, and then it plays music that is scientifically proven. And that's where I was like, it's not a Saturday Night Live spoof. It's a real commercial, but the CG looks really good. It's blended in fabulously.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I love this project because it's a fun narrative to start, right? So you get the brief and we're talking about what we want this to be. And it's like, so many opportunities on where we could take this. And, as the video goes on, it gets even more grandiose as they're thinking about the possibilities. There's like the robot mech warrior suit looking thing. And then we're taking the robot to the moon later on. And so, you get the fun technical narrative side of storytelling from the actors and the live action talent. And then you really figure out ways to weave in and incorporate some of the 3D and VFX stuff. So it touched on a lot of facets that our team's good at. UI interfaces with 2D, the live action work, the 3D work, and the VFX. So it was a really big team that ended up working on this one, which was super fun.
How did you find that client, or how did they find you? The Bash Dash?
the Dash Bash.
The Dash Bash?
The Dash Bash, if you haven't heard of it, check it out. Dashbash.net. You know where it's located. So on the end of the WWWs.
Yeah. Is that held in Asheville with the retreat, or it's different?
No. It's here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's really a collection of anyone who fits under the lens of an umbrella of motion design. And I think honestly, what I really
could be live
love
action as well.
It could be 100%.
Could be animators, illustrators.
Yes, directors, producers,
copywriters.
100%. I mean, really a fantastic place to meet up with another 400 to 500 creatives who are doing some really amazing stuff.
When is Dash Bash 25?
June 11th through 13th. One full day of workshops, 2 full days of speakers. And the thing that I love about it so much is, like, we talked about this at the top of the call, was just the importance of getting out and meeting people and community. And what I really love is that our event is for motion designers, by motion designers, that celebrates creativity, community, and inclusivity in the motion design industry. Because so many presentations, not to hate on them. I mean, they're great. We all love seeing good work, but I want to know more the nuance. Like, what did you fail at, and how did you overcome it? What was some of the friction you navigated, and what are some key takeaways? I feel like a lot of conferences, unfortunately, will just give you like, hey, look how great my stuff is. And we've done a fantastic job, in my opinion, of bringing in speakers who typically have not been on the stage before to tell really inspiring stories. I think about one individual, Aaron Ray, who spoke about starting his amazing animation studio called Legwork and how they shut it down. But he did so when they were still crushing it, but he was just ready for something different. And how do you navigate that change? Or Amanda Gaudreau, an immigrant story coming in from the Caribbean and finding a career in motion design as an immigrant. And what does that look like? Or another gentleman we had who runs a studio called The Lion Animation, speaking about, he's actually from the Caribbean as well, his Caribbean influence and his personal work. So it's all these like internal narratives that are coming out and the importance of that authenticity. And then some of the pieces of like running a studio, navigating tricky clients, all those pieces. So that's why I feel like you get some really good takeaways at the event.
How did you meet Red Hat?
So you remember at the very beginning, we were talking about how being a good person, putting yourself out there, doing well unto others.
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. So when I got into that first agency, a lot of my peers who were entry level went on to eventually work at Red Hat. And so we had built up this long rapport of now over a decade. So they know the work habit, the ethic, how I've gone to bat for people. And we've done the same for them. And so it really is a symbiotic relationship. And what I love about Red Hat, and I can give them a shout out here because they're such a great client, is that they have an amazing internal creative team. So they do a lot of stuff internally, but then they will work with outside partners to accent that team. So not only have we worked with Red Hat, but I've gotten to work at intimate levels with their creative team to collaborate on projects, which has just been super fun. And I think it's the best compliment you can have as a studio or agency to say like, hey, come in and work with our team because we view you as a partner of ours.
You're like the Navy SEALs.
We are a little bit, small enough to do kind of the elemental stuff, but big enough to help scale. It's, in my opinion, one of the best places to be as a smaller shop to just be super flexible.
I remember, was it last year? The summer before last, I get a call from VML. It's a wonderful agency all around the world, global. And the creative director wanted to work with me. And I'm like, I know Evan Miguel. Shout out Evan Miguel. And I had worked with him 5 or 6 years prior at Saatchi in Los Angeles.
Amazing.
And it was his first shoot, the one we did in like 2017 or 18. And so I get the gig. It was a competitive situation, and we're out here, we're having dinner. And I said, Evan, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, but why me? He goes, well, it's your brand of comedy. So the real, right? And I said, that was your first shoot. He goes, yeah. And you were really nice to me. You went out of your way to be nice. Cause I remember saying he was a junior copywriter, hey, do you have any ideas you want to try? We're ahead of schedule. We'll come up with an idea. We'll go have the actors say the line or whatever it was, right? It was a Toyota commercial. And it was so wonderful to hear that. Mm-hmm. And I was so proud, like in a crazy uncle way, of someone's success, like watching women and men rise up through the ranks as an older person. Like, wow, they really have blossomed. And I see that with a lot of filmmakers through the film school. But on the agency side, watching them rise up through the ranks and move to different shops and everything, it's everything you're saying about people going off and doing things, or creative directors starting their own companies have called, or their own shops, right? Or maybe they're working in-house and said, I had a good time. That shoot really turned out well. Can you do this for my company? We don't even have an agency. Just run with the ball.
Yes.
But the real surprising thing to me was, and you were nice to me. Well, why is that not the norm?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like the fact that he had to, you were nice. Well, isn't everybody nice to people?
I think that kind of highlights a problem in our space in this like creative, overworked, overburdened, burnout heavy area, is that people are tense, they're tight, there's quick turnarounds. People can get flustered and try to put their finger on the scale and say, this needs to happen or get done. And one thing I've learned from managing a team now for over 10 years is that, the best success doesn't come from just like burning people at the stake. You got to get them believing in you and moving forward with you. For anyone that's looking to be a better leader, I can give a great book recommendation for Kim Scott's Radical Candor. Book 2, Kim Scott's Radical Candor. Made a huge impression upon me because she speaks towards this idea of like a quadrant on like managers have a quadrant, top, bottom, let's see, top left is the like too passive a manager. You're too empathetic. So if you're too empathetic, you're like, what does everyone think about this? How can we do this? You're searching for multiples opinion. If you're bottom right quadrant, you're too much of an asshole. Like it's the classic stereotypical boss, get this done or you're fired. Bottom left is this idea that you don't care. It's apathy. It's like, well, you're not empathetic, but you're not an asshole. You just don't really care. And the secret spot and the secret sauce to all of it is being upper right, because it's this idea of like, look, I know you. I care about you. I know the work you can get done. We need to do this so we can hit this deliverable, right? So it's being decisive, but it's being approachable at the same time. And I think that book has helped me immensely be a better leader. And if anyone's trying to do the same, would definitely recommend it.
Well, I've always said you can, that's great. And I wish we had the diagram. If I was a YouTube show, we'd put that, I'd have like Jake, who edits the show. I go, Jake, pull that up. And he would have
pull the diagram up.
But I've always said you could either lead with the carrot or you could lead with the stick. And I choose to lead with the carrot, but get out of line. I'll whack you with the carrot.
I'll whack you with the carrot. Turn that carrot into a stick.
Wow, this has been a great chat. The show is called, well, first of all, is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to cover? It's been a free-flowing chat today.
I think we covered everything. I think the only thing that I would leave is would love to see folks come out and attend the Dash Bash this summer, June 11th through 13th, 2025, dashbash.net. Amazing lineup, amazing group of people. Open to anyone in the crew in Raleigh, North Carolina. You'll have
how many people? I'll put a link. You have a link, a sign-up link?
Yeah. I'll send you a link.
Okay, so send me a link. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I'll put it at jordanbrady.com.
Great.
Does it cost a lot of money?
It costs a reasonable amount of money.
You want to say the price, or it might change between now and
then? No, it's all public. Let me just double check it real quick. Make sure it hasn't gone up since I'm saying this, because there are different tiers. Ticket price is currently $550.
Oh, that's a steal.
2 full days. It's a steal. It's reasonable. It's reasonable to put on a 400-person event. Yeah. I think
wow!
Totally
that was my next question. 400 people, and you're eating good Southern barbecue, maybe. And
so North Carolina
beers,
good craft beer. North Carolina food is phenomenal, and we are sticklers on our barbecue. Pulled pork, Eastern style barbecue is what we harp on.
Why do you call it Eastern style?
Well, because there is Western style barbecue that is tomato based. So North Carolina split. Our western part of the state has tomato-based barbecue. Eastern is vinegar, and that is where I have my allegiance. And the reason it's vinegar is because it was established before we knew tomatoes were edible. So some of the early founders of North Carolina, the colonies here, they would chop up pulled pork and mix it in with vinegar-based sauce because that was tasty. They didn't know tomatoes were edible yet. So that's how we get the vinegars. But in my opinion, it's delightful. It's delicious. It's the most North Carolina food you can eat.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I think we will have to save the barbecue discussion for another.
That's right.
Another podcast, because I can go deep into Kansas City style vinegar,
Texas brisket,
Texas brisket, dry rub, Memphis, the molasses versus the vinegar.
Love it. So many options. We're foodies down here, so I'm not going to say no to any of this.
I'll put a link to Dash Bash.
Dash Bash, that's right.
Anybody's welcome. And the last question is, the show's called Respect the Process. Okay. So we end every interview this way. What does that mean to you, that phrase, respect the process?
As someone who's built a company on process to me ensures a final outcome that we all like, and that your process, whatever craft that you operate in, more than anyone can tell you. And respect the process to me means that even if you're unsure, there's uncertainty, you're trying to figure out how to go, a process, follow the process, and it gets you to where you want to land. And I'll add this little anecdote at the end because I think it's something that's helped me over the last 10 years especially. There's this reminder that perfection inhibits progress. Because the reality is
prohibits progress, because at some point you got to ship it. And whether it's redesigning your website, cutting together that new reel,
putting out that project out the door. There's a million things that you could continue to tweak, but the reality is you just got to keep it moving forward. Always come back and refine it, but just remember, no matter how perfect you think something is, people will critique it. So just put it out there, do it live, and if with time, go back and refine it. But perfection inhibits progress.
So sometimes you have to disrespect the process to respect the process. That's a great
the process. Keep it moving.
Thank you so much, Mack. I really appreciate your time this morning, your stories. Come back and we'll talk barbecue on another episode. And I wanted your take on, here's what we didn't cover. We don't have time for it. AI.
Oh, yeah.
And the freelance gig economy and how that works. So I'm just going to plant those with the listeners so that part 2 with Mack, which will also give us another chance to promote the Bash Dash. The Dash Bash.
The Dash Bash.
It's hard to say for me.
It's hard. I know. No, I think those are both really good topics. I think our industry is changing faster than it ever has before. But stagnation, in my opinion, is scarier than change. And as creatives, as problem solvers, we talked about it earlier, we're in the best position to excel in the future than I think anyone else is.
That's good. Sounds like you're embracing it all.
100%.
Okay. Hey, thanks. Have a great day. And thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Cheers.
See you later. Bye. That was a great chat. I hope you were as inspired as I am just listening again to Mack. Thank you, Mack. And again, we have 4 spots left. Maybe someone has signed up during this podcast. There are 4 spots left for boot camp Saturday, April 5th in Los Angeles. You and I will get on the phone. We'll talk about what you want to take away from the workshop, and I'll make sure you leave with a bucket full of knowledge nuggets. Thanks, everybody.
Commercial Directing Film School's mission is to help filmmakers direct commercials professionally. With online courses and in-person boot camps, we demystify the process to get you to the next level, all taught by your accessible mentor, filmmaker Jordan Brady.
True Gentleman Industries. We make commercials.